Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session, the last one for 2024 of Quispamsis Town Council on December the 17th. May I have an approval of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question, please vote now.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry about that.
Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. Sometimes we have a few little glitches with our technology, but we will correct that. I'm looking for the treaty acknowledgement, please, Councillor Thompson.
We would respectfully acknowledge that Quispamsis exists on the traditional territory of the Wolastoqey, Maliseet, and Micmac people, whose ancestors, along with the Passamaquoddy tribes, signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s. We would like to take this moment to pay respect to the elders, past and present, and the descendants of this traditional territory. And may we remind ourselves of the important work we have before us tonight, and may we make good decisions without prejudice or bias, and always in the best interest of our community, which we are here to serve.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. I have a few remarks this evening, and I would like to begin tonight with a special thank you to our Public Works, Utility, Engineering, and Parks staff for their response to last week's extreme rain and windstorm in our region. Your management of downed trees, debris, power issues, and more really helped our community cope with some challenging circumstances. Thank you as well to our staff at Town Hall for making sure town operations continued without delay. Quispamsis has been recognized as one of Canada's 100 most livable communities in Canada. A recent article in the Globe and Mail newspaper puts Quispamsis at the 92nd place among nearly 450 communities across Canada, up 26 points from the 1 year ago. The article noted that Quispamsis is a desirable community for young professionals, midlife and retirement, and newcomers. Safety and community rankings were near the top across the country. This is a well-deserved recognition for the community that we are and what we are striving to become. The main entrance to Quispamsis Town Hall is expected to be closed through the end of business on Friday, December 20th, due to the ongoing replacement of siding around the building. Town Hall remains open for regular business hours, and anyone who wishes to come into the Town Hall during this time can call 506-849-5778 upon arrival to gain access through an alternate entrance. For your safety, please respect any signage and barricades that may be in place around the construction zone. Holiday schedules for Quispamsis Town Hall, the Qplex Administration Office, and the Qplex walking track have been posted on our website, quispamsis.ca, and on our social media. Reduced hours of operation will be in effect between Tuesday, December 24th, and Wednesday, January 1st. Regular hours resume on Thursday, January the 2nd. There is public skating at the Qplex during the holidays. Please visit the Qplex page on our website and click Public Schedules to find the most up-to-date information. We are also hoping to open our outdoor skating rink at the Arts and Culture Park with a little more cooperation from the weather. Monitor our website and social media for further details. In the meantime, be sure to enjoy the Holiday Dreamland display, our groomed walking trails, winter biking at Millennium Park, bike park, and other activities. And I want to thank staff members and members of council for supporting a local family during this holiday season through a partnership with St. Mark's Catholic Church. Through staff donations and those from council, Our lunchroom canteen, we are able to support a family with 4 children this year. The gifts were brought to the church this week for distribution on time for Christmas. Thank you to everyone for supporting those in need during this special time. And to all those out there who are also supporting our food bank and families through their churches or other areas, thank you for your caring. And please remember that our snowplows will be out in full force when the need arises. And it's important to take a few extra moments to ensure your safety and those of our operators. For motorists, please leave enough space between you and the snowplow so it can do its job safely and effectively. For homeowners, place driveway markers back from the edge of the road so as to ensure that they are not dislodged by the plow. They can cause injury or damage to protection and to equipment and to your property. And if you're out for a walk around town, be sure to wear something bright or reflective so that plows can see you and drivers can see you. Farrell, the town's waste management contractor, does not provide collection services on Christmas Day. They will be collecting recycling and compost on Saturday following Christmas, so on December the 28th, for residents whose schedule would normally fall on Wednesday, December 25th. Please ensure carts and containers are placed curbside by 7 a.m. on collection day. For more information about the town's waste management, visit the garbage and recycling page on our website. And as I said earlier, this is the final regular meeting of Quispamsis Town Council before the end of the year. On behalf of all of us here at the council table and all of our staff, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year and a safe and enjoyable holiday season. I look forward to seeing everyone in the new year and hearing from you in 2025. Thank you. I am looking for a disclosure of interests. Seeing there are none. Presentations. Our first presentation today is KV Minor Hockey Association presentation on ice availability and costs. Shane McDonald, Director of Technical Development, and Michael Conley, Vice President. Welcome, gentlemen.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My professional career. Warm home, simply Mike. One of my favorite days. I'm here this evening. If not, Wayne Gretzky. All right. Or at least we'll go with that. Anybody? If you have not, I invite you. We strive to provide as well as programs that normally make it extra. Pastime can do so in an inclusive and fun environment. We help to raise funds for those in need. We are a large, growing, and ever-present force in the community who give our youth a place to be active and safe. And now we are in need due to growth that has surpassed current available resources. Growth that, if not supported, will lead to youth in the community missing out, and more on that in a minute. We're here to ask a few different things, and I'll expand on each of them. The first thing we're asked for is prioritization and fairness. Currently, if we try and book ice outside of our city, like such as in St. John, we're basically given the scraps that are left as they prioritize their youth and taxpayers first. We ask that the town of Quispamsis agree to prioritize the use of Quispamsis over those outside of our area. That, just like the city of St. John, we tell outside agencies and non-taxpayers that our youth come first before theirs, and we need this done in an official document such as our recreational strategy. Currently, ice allocation in Quispamsis is basically a free-for-all, first come, first serve. We give others the consideration currently that they do not or we're not willing to give us, and this needs to stop as our youth in Quispam are the ones suffering. In the end, it is the tax base of the families in Quispamsis who become angry and suffer with children not being able to get ice time, with children not being able to give an appropriate amount of ice time or practices. These are taxpayers who vote, who spend thousands of tax dollars in the community facilities, and we're seeing more and more loss of use. One of the things people care about when considering a community to call home is, in fact, services offered. We are severely lagging behind as a hockey community. We are starting to be seen as the have-nots instead of the haves. In fairness, we also currently, as an association, pay for about a 15-minute flood for every hour we're using the ice. We're charged 1.25 hours of service. The thing is, this is not charged if I were to go back and book it myself. I could realistically book the 48 hours of usable ice that is allocated to KVMHA weekly under my own name and save the association 6.25 hours of cost, or about $1,000 a week. So it begs the question, why can I, coming off the street, pay for that 1 hour with no flood, where the youth have to pay 1.25? Another issue we kind of have, and this is a point of public pride, is banner raising. When you go into the arenas of other associations, you proudly see the banners won at various tournaments. It is a point of pride for those players who have won them to be able to see them hanging. It is a point of pride for a parent to tell their child, I won that when I was your age, and now yours is up there too. Why are we being fought on this? We understand that the Qplex may not be a viable spot. It's big and shiny and new. But QMA is an ideal location. Will this council make a choice to inject some community pride and hang these banners at QMA? We can do this as a yearly raising or revealing of the banners and make it a community event to coincide with our annual gear swap or the start of the hockey season, and what an event that would be. Second question, bringing down the ice costs for such things as tournaments and league day champions. Over the past couple of years, we as an association have lost out on multiple opportunities to showcase our beautiful town based on one thing alone, and that's cost. We, in the last couple of years alone, have had bids rejected for our league championship weekends, which are now being held in St. Stephen, and hosting provincial championships at multiple age groups. While other associations and towns are able to competitively bid on such things as our league's day champions, provincial championships, tournaments, we are not able to do so at an appropriate cost, effective manner due to ice cost. We ask that the ice cost for Qplex be lowered to the youth rate of QMA of what used to be $150, but I got an email today saying it's going to $167. In order to bring us up to par with the competitive process of other associations in southern New Brunswick. This is not a permanent ask for all ice times, just for those for special events like tournaments. We need to remember again, it's the taxpayers of Quispamsis that suffer and become angry when we're forced to travel nonstop to other associations in our province for our children to compete, all because of the associations are supported to a higher extent than our own. One of the things that is lost in the numbers is the huge economic impact on our local businesses. Every team that comes here, whether it be for one game or specifically for a weekend, the economic impact cannot be overlooked on local businesses, whether that be buying gas, groceries, whether that be going to restaurants, filling up the hotel, et cetera, et cetera. These things are all important to the life of the community and for continued success for small business owners. And the third and the biggest ask is that plans for a minimum of one new ice surface and ideally two be included in the town of Quispamsis recreational plan. Our ice users are more than we can currently handle. Our community numbers are ever increasing due to the influx. As the mayor earlier said, we're a place that people want to come to. If you look at comparable areas in the province, we can look no further than Fredericton. They have about the same, about 900 members with 7 different ice surfaces. We have 2. The town of Oromocto, a place I hold near and dear as that's where I work, has a third of the number of our association for personnel. They have 2 ice surfaces. Obviously, just the numbers don't make sense. This is not a light ask and is well understood, but you must also be understood in, the economic impact. Better services lead to an increased tax base moving forward, and therefore more money in the town. And better services lead to increased levels of physical fitness in our youth. We already have an arena that can be expanded to 2 ice surfaces in the Qplex with an already present ice plant originally designed for 2 ice surfaces. There are plots of land for sale in the area that would be amazing for new ice surfaces. We just need your vote and your help to get these on the go. You may ask about some numbers and facts, as I'm sure you'll have questions when I'm done here. So here's some numbers and facts. Currently over 900, that's the number of registrations for all KVMHA programs, and of that, approximately 65 to 70% come from Quispamsis. That equates to millions of dollars in tax income coming from hockey families in the town. This 900 is also a number that will have to shrink and be capped if we cannot come to an agreement on pushing forward with more facilities. We will have to tell our youth, you're a Canadian that cannot play hockey, which is truly a sobering and sad thought. 230,000, that's the amount KVMHA is spending in ice costs this year. Again, by far the largest ice user in this area. 0, that's the number of bids that we have secured the last few years for provincials or the SNB MHL Day Champions because we cannot compete. 49 kilometers in 43 minutes. That's the distance and time it will take my child on a snowy Canadian winter road in the evening on a school night if we are forced to look for ice in St. Martin's, which is on the table currently being discussed by the board of KVMHA. 96 kilometers in 59 minutes. That's the distance and time it takes our youth to travel to Blacks Harbor, another area being discussed to get more ice for our youth. And a big number is the number that's too many to count, and that's the number of conversations I've had with frustrated parents who are taxpayers of Quispamsis over the lack of ice availability for our area. I'm gonna leave you with one more quote, this time not from a sports star, but from well-known Dr. Hunter Adams. You may know him as Patch Adams. He said, you can have me as a professional colleague, passionate, or you can have me as an outspoken insider, still adamant. Either way, I'll probably be viewed as a thorn, but I promise you one thing, I'm a thorn that will not go away. I love the quote, it sums up my thoughts on working with the youth at Quispamsis. I will fight for them as long as I'm here. Thank you for your time. I'd love to hear for your questions and comments. Actually, I'd love to hear more for your outright agreements, but for now, I guess questions and comments I'll have to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and certainly you've done some homework, and I know that council will want to reflect on the information that you've given them, and anyone who has a comment to present to you now, certainly I welcome that. And I certainly see your passion and your love for the game and your love for the hockey players that you are guiding through their young hockey careers, so thank you for that. Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Coach Mike and Coach Shane, for coming tonight and bringing up a very important issue. Unfortunately, our Director of Community Services is sick tonight, and I guess I would be directing a lot of my questions that you brought up to her, and she's not here. But I do want to thank you. I think you brought up some really good points, and you know, I'd like to think that as a town we can work to you know, kind of help with some of those things around the prioritization and you know, making it more competitive. I know that sports tourism is something that our town believes in, and even though it's young kids, it still brings people to the community and builds on our economy. So
Not just young kids, it's also kids all the way from, 5 to 17, 18 years old.
yeah, I guess
It's
all relative. I'm thinking young. That is young to me.
Compared to us, maybe, yes.
But again, it is still sports tourism where it's bringing people into our community, and they do, like you said, buy gas, go to the restaurant. So it does add to the community. So anyway, again, you know, in terms of making a motion, I would really wish would love it if our Director of Community Services was here. But I guess I would like to perhaps make a motion that, you know, the director or our town staff work closely with the KV Minor Hockey Association to, I guess, you know, kind of sit down and you know, look a little closer at, I don't think we're going to be able to promise anything tonight, but I would like to make a motion that our town staff sit down with you guys to look a little bit deeper into some of your concerns to see if there's ways that we can solve some of the issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. The motion on the table is, or that's been recommended, is that KVMHA be thanked for their presentation and refer to staff for review with follow-up to KVMHA. Does that satisfy your, that's what we would hope to do. Typically what we would do, rather than make a decision here as far as making any promises, which we are unable to do, would be, that's what it's inferring here, is that she will meet with her staff and then certainly meet with you at some
That was
point.
the intent behind this evening, was more information, was more getting it out there and wanting to open that dialogue and be collaborative in the effort going forward to support these youth and to get these things on the go. I mean, when it comes to new arenas and stuff like that, there's definitely federal and provincial money out there that I'm sure we can access, and we can start planning this sooner rather than later.
Okay, Councillor Luck? You're okay with that? It's been moved by Councillor Luck, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you for your presentation, very informative. And I'm a hockey mom from way back. Now I'm a hockey grandma. Some of that growth obviously is from the number of girls playing the sport now. And I think it would be interesting, and you probably have those stats for the staff as well, because that's got to have been a tremendous amount of growth in the female hockey. And we saw it this year with having our tournament, the caliber of hockey players, female hockey players coming out through. And I know that you have the Kraken, and then there's other girls that decide to play co-ed.
Yep.
And so I'd be really interested to see those figures and how much of the growth has to do with the female participation in the sport.
Sure, I can get them for you.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Watson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you, I offer also thanks a lot for coming tonight. Very informative conversation for sure, and just additional context I'd just bring to Council's attention. In your meeting package tonight, there are copies of 2 letters, and I appreciate it's perhaps a small offset, but a couple of sport tourism grants have been offered to the KV Minor Hockey Association for upcoming tournaments, U9 and U11 tournaments to be held in the new year. I also took notice of your comment around ice allocation overall, and that's something that is front of mind for us. We do have some funds set aside in 2025 for the purposes of an allocation study on all of our facilities, including ice. So we would look to partners like you to be part of that conversation for sure. But I don't know, Your Worship, if you had anything else other than from my perspective to offer that certainly additional funding applications are welcome in 2025 for the 2026 year, and we can certainly help you with that as well.
Yes, thank you. Those community civic funding applications have to be in, I believe it's in July, so just keep a look on the website. So I'm going to go to Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. I've been through the novice to, we called it midget back then, now it's U18. So I do understand and the challenge, but also, as you said, we need to be collaborative and talk. But so there's a few other things that you may or may not be aware of. The QMA loses $300,000 a year, right? QPlex loses about $1 million. It's okay. We subsidize it, we know that. Our ice rink rates are significantly lower than Moncton, not lower than St. John. Because I remember talking to the head of the Moncton Association. They charge over $200 for their ice, but they bring in so many tournaments that their tournaments offset their costs. So they help subsidize that. So ice time is really tough. We have 2 to twin the Qplex, $20 million, totally out of Quispamsis taxpayer money. We have yet to get any money for stuff like that. So, and that's a multi-year project. So it's one of these things we need to look at, but we also need St. John just closed down one of the rinks. They should have closed down 2. If you look at their Play St. John book that they wrote back later on, because they didn't have as many. But now everybody's, whether you're in a school or on a rink, our whole population's changed, right? So it's not something we can turn on a dime. I do appreciate the, banners will be tough. I'm just going to say that. I remember my son's team won 6 one year, just that one team. And there was 8 midget teams at that time. So I don't know where we'd put all the banners. It's tough. Like, that's just one team out of, as you know, the KV Association has the biggest association basically in Atlantic Canada because of the numbers, excluding the female, just on the male side. It's amazing, and female, I think the same too. So it's a collaboration. I appreciate bringing it up. Just for context too, there was a rink study done just last year that said we have enough rinks. I'm just throwing that out there. There was a study that came in, so just letting you, so we can stay, and that's, we keep the Qplex open all year round. The other groups don't. my pet peeve, to be quite honest, Harbor Station sits empty most of the time, or TD Station, whatever it's called now. The Quispamsis taxpayer, the Rothsay taxpayer, the Hampton taxpayer pays into that. But, you know, you can get into some of the other rinks there, but you can't get into Harbor Station. And so I think there's got to be a better utility of all the rinks around here as well. But all your comments, bang on. I went to Minto for $50. We spent a whole day there and just rented it for 8 hours, right? Nowhere else can you get $50 rink.
The only thing I'll say about Moncton is how many ice surfaces do they have?
Pardon me?
How many ice surfaces does Moncton have?
Well, a lot of them are private. That's why, like, they're so same as you go to Halifax. So they've had private investors come in, and that's why you're paying 200 some bucks an hour. But you've got a twoplex or a fourplex where you can have a tournament with, and you got a restaurant in the middle and stuff like that, right? So here we're spread out everywhere. So but they had private investors come in or support them that you know, if we had somebody come in to say would help build, give you $5 million to do something, that might be what. So I don't disagree with anything you said. I've been there. So it's just it's something that won't turn around real quick. But to your point, if you don't shoot the puck, you're never going to score. So I appreciate you guys coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Olson, please.
Thank you, Worship. Thanks for your presentation. I've heard similar presentations over the years. I will say that arenas are very expensive. When we built the Qplex in 2011, we got $3 million each from the feds in the province. The Garcelon and St. Stephen got 7.2 each. When they built the oneplex in Dieppe, I think they got 19 million. You know, it just depends on the timing and who's there and everything else. I guess that, and I'm proud of the QMA that we opened in 83, and it serves its purpose greatly. We've invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, as you can see just by the appearance of it. You know, right from the ceiling to the lighting to the exterior wall and everything else. We've invested a lot of money in hockey and that. I was wondering if you are going to be making a similar presentation to Rothsay.
We are.
Okay. The other thing is too that there's more than two ice surfaces here. You've got Rothsay, you've got Netherwood, and
But we don't, because Netherwood is private.
Well,
So
I
we have
realize that,
Rothsay,
but I
and
mean,
then we have
it's-
Netherwood at kind of the same thing in St. John, where they
but
get
it's
prioritized
accessible.
sites.
It has been used before for tournaments and for hockey and that sort of thing.
First the schools get it, then
Yeah.
their own programs get it.
Well,
then
everybody's
it's all
got their priorities, you know, and they're catering a lot to the owners of the facilities, obviously. And I mean, why not? You know, when we built our QMA, we built it in '83. Rothsay built theirs in '73, and because of the Council of the Day back in the '70s didn't support the Rothsay Arena, we couldn't use that arena for 10 years. I took my kids and my son into playing Simons for 10 years. You know, and that was the decision of Council of the Day, and I don't argue with that. But you know, a lot of water goes under the bridge, you know, over the times and that. But I think it's critical that we keep Rothsay involved, and I don't know what their capacity is down there to do anything, but they've got a nice service, you know. So
They have about 200 members. Quispam has about 550.
yeah, well, they've got a third.
Yeah.
They've got a third of the users, you know, and they're using all of our facilities, which is it's a regional facility, as they say.
And if we did a growth trajectory, I think the Quispam region would be a lot of the growth you spoke about.
Yeah.
Mail is coming to Quispamsis area.
Well, that's the new demand.
Right.
That's the
So
new
to your
demand.
point about tournaments, if we don't build the rinks, the tournaments won't come. It's like either let them pass by or invest in our community and grow our population. Yes, it's a cost. That's what generates tax dollars.
You've also got roads to do and sidewalks, so it's.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I don't think that there's a facility, an arena facility that breaks even or anything like that. Never has been that I know of. And when you talk about the Avenir Center in Moncton, I know I've read articles where they've had to go to the city council and get $300,000 or $400,000, you know, a prop up. Yeah.
And I don't think we need another large facility in Quispamsis like
No.
the Qplex, but
No.
another ice surface to
Yeah.
minimize the cost, but allow for
Yeah.
worthwhile cost. I'm sure you have a large recreational budget, and you can build all the parks and playgrounds, but if they're not being used and rinks have demand, seems to me like a good place to invest. If it's feasible.
There's
From
conflict.
a global perspective, not a, this rink loses money, so don't do it. Does it generate funds in other ways and drive other businesses to the area? I think Moncton's proven that does.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. And I will mention that the Fundy Regional Service Commission is overseeing what availability there are in ice surfaces within the entire region. So you're looking from Fundy Rural, Grand Bay Westfield, St. John, Hampton, Rossay, St. Martin's, and Quispamsis. So that may be another area for you to direct your concerns and to perhaps share some of the information that you have. Thank you very much. On the question, seeing there are no further, please vote now. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, and I'm sure that the Director of Community Services, Ms. Burton-Dixon, will be in contact with you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you. Moving on now to item number 6, public hearings. First on the list, 6A, Hampton Road, PIDs 00251843 and 30240527 from single to two-family residential R1 to integrated development ID, rezoning application, and a staff report from Planning Technologies, Jennifer Jarvis. So would you like to? Sure.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the council members. Before you is an application at 236 Hampton Road for a rezoning from a single family to integrated development. The integrated development was chosen to allow for several different uses, an apartment use and just a duplex use on the same property without it needing to be subdivided. The application did go forward to PAC for their written reviews and for a couple of variances, one of which would be a reduction in parking by 19 stalls, a setback variance, front yard setback for the apartment complex that was during phase 8, and during phase 1 there would be a 7.5 meter front yard setback for the very first of the triplexes that would be built. The roads names have been decided. There are 2 streets in the community. The first one is Swallows Place in light of the current owners, and the second is Sunflower Crescent. There's been a request for a reduced driving with street width. The requirement in the subdivision bylaw is 20 meters. This, where it is a very small, it's almost intimate community where the only people going in and out would be those living there. It doesn't connect to anything other than the homes that are within it. So staff are comfortable with a 6 meter driving surface that is required by the National Building Code. And it also, in the site plan, does identify a 1.5 meter defined walking surface, a walking trail that would be also within the community. We did request that a new site plan be submitted that included a buffer zone along the R1 properties at a butt, and that has been provided by the applicant. There is concern was received from the public regarding water. I wanted to advise that there is a requirement for the applicant to submit the project to the Department of Environment for review to ensure that an environmental impact assessment is or is not required. In the event that an EIA is not required, the PAC included in their notice of decision that a hydrogeological study would be required to identify that there was sufficient water quantity and quality to provide to the development. We did check with Public Utility to ensure that there's enough capacity in the system currently to meet any demands, and I was informed that there would not be any requirement to upgrade that sewage service in that area, that it can handle the additional flows. I also included in my report how it meets the statements of public interest, and I'm available to answer any questions the council may have after Ms. Judy comes up and gives her portion. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, we're here this evening and have been tasked with and requested to and plan to consider amending zoning bylaw 038. This day has been set aside for a public hearing. We will note that anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment will be heard and considered by council. And each person wishing to speak to council will approach the podium, identify themselves, and have a 5-minute timeline to address council. So in beginning this, I will ask for our proponent, for Ms. Judy Lane, to come forward to do your presentation. Good evening, Ms. Lane. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, councilors, staff, and guests. I'm here again tonight to talk about the proposal that I put forward on an aging in place community. Unfortunately, I don't have a quote like the folks before me. They gave 2 quotes, but I do have my presentation here. This project is proposed at 236 Hampton Road, that was mentioned. If you want to go to the next slide. For those of you who don't know me, I am a nurse by trade. I've been around for almost 40 years now, working in hospital system, nursing homes, and now my own business, Home Care by Design, that has been in place for 6 years. We provide home support services to people living in their own homes and who want to stay at home. This project is the next phase of our business, and that is to help people who still want to age in place but can no longer age at home. So what is aging in place? It's a term that's being used that's become very familiar, but it's being able to stay in your own home or the choice of your home as people get older. If you can no longer live in your actual home there's many reasons why you might not be able to. You can still live in a home and be able to stay independent and make your own decisions. Many things you need to ask yourself, especially as we get older ourselves, is, do I have the support to support me wherever I'm at in my home? For example, if you live in the country, do you have somebody to come help you, take you out for errands? Are you close to amenities? Do you have any family and friends that can help you with groceries? Are you able to maintain your property? Do you have the finances to maintain your property? And are you able to manage your health as you get older? The next slide is population growth. That's what we all talk about lately. And this just shows a slide of those people, which I am in that category, over the age of not 65, but in the 65 plus category. Is the population is growing exponentially and will put a strain on our housing everywhere. And one person said to me, well, if they can't stay in their own home, there's lots of nursing homes. Well, that's not the solution, because nobody wants to live in a nursing home. And there are over 500 people waiting in hospital for nursing home, many of whom will never make it to nursing home. And social development that supports home care services is struggling to just cope with what's coming down the road now. So it's a very tenuous situation. And we can't forget about 98% of older adults who want to actually age in place. We have to consider their needs. They built our community and have supported everybody as they grew up, raised their kids, and now they deserve to be able to live the life that they choose. Um, Next slide. This, I aligned our project with the strategic plan of Quispamsis. Important things to remember. Changing the variety of housing. Quispamsis wants to grow the variety of housing due to the changing demographics, and that is evident that we need to do that. Supporting population growth. We need to grow the number of housing units. Supporting community sustainability and increasing density in core areas, which only makes sense financially. If you grow your density in your core areas, it helps to maintain or lower the tax burden on the taxpayers. This project is putting forward to be approved for 62 units. It's 29 garden homes and 29 and 33 unit apartment building. They will be duplexes, triplexes, a combination of 1 and 2 bedroom homes. The apartment building will have a community room. There'll be mostly 1 bedroom units. There'll be property maintenance on site, as well as home support caregivers living on site, so that you can access home care when you need it, any time of the day or night. Next slide. It's hard to see, but it's a site plan of the 29 garden homes and the apartment building. The apartment building is at the street front going down Hampton Road, and then the garden homes just follow through in a crescent around this site. We do, as Jennifer mentioned, we do plan to do this over an 8-year period, building approximately 4 garden homes per year. Some of the garden homes have garages and some don't, just to give people the availability of different price points. And the walking path Jennifer mentioned. Utilities will be connecting to the town sewer, and the water system will be using wells until the water comes down Hampton Road. This is a picture of the sample duplex. So 2 garden homes with 2 cars, garages in the middle. There'll also be 1 bedroom garden homes with no garage. All the units will be built with accessibility in mind, so that if you don't need it now, it will be very easy to renovate down the road and less expensive. Things like will all be 1 level living with zero step, 0 threshold to get around right from the outside going in and back out through the back door. The bathroom, they have 1 bathroom currently, and it is almost twice the size of a regular bathroom to accommodate wheelchair accessibility. Windows and lighting and interior doors will all be accessible. And then there's a picture, I know it's hard to see, but the front porch is going in. There's a small bedroom, a small utility room with washer and dryer, and then the master bathroom, master bedroom, and then coming back to the front door, it's living room, kitchen, and dining room. There's a back door out the back and a side door going into the garage. So this community, who we're thinking will move into this will be older adults wanting to age in place, but actually not able to stay at home anymore. We don't want people coming to this who just want to downsize from their home and move into this community. We want them to stay at home as long as possible and then come here when they can no longer manage that at home. The units will all be rented, and they'll be comparable to other new rentals in the area. And that's the end of my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
We have you present, and then I have to ask if there is anyone in the audience wishing to speak for or against. So
Sure.
you may have a seat, and I will invite anyone who would like to speak for or
All right.
against the
Thank you.
proposed amendment. Thank you for your presentation. So I'm going to ask now for anyone who wishes to speak for or against the proposed amendment to please come forward and give your name. First gentleman, please, Mr. Bellevaux. Please state your name for the clerk. Welcome.
My name is Rob Bellevaux. I live at 10 Lake Road, Quispamsis. I speak on behalf of my wife and myself. We're in favor of this type of development in general. The proposed location really doesn't bother us either. I guess some specifics about the project is I guess, water availability. Some of you may know, staff knows, I know, that we are building a home at 12 Lake Road right now. We just drilled our well about 8 weeks ago. We're at 525 feet to get enough water flow to sustain our household. I know that the psychology building adjacent to this property on Hampton Road, according to Steve's well drilling, is at a 500-foot level to get. Now, they required more water because of the nature of the business there, but my point is that the wells are getting deeper and the water is getting more scarce. I would urge council and staff to consider carefully the availability of water, considering the size of the development that's going to go here, and the fact that two properties relatively close are as deep as they are now to get the water. So the only other point, I guess, in terms of the layout or the design of the facility is the multi-unit building, the apartment-style building. We would have preferred, I guess, that kind of be further back from the road. We think that community of this nature, the way it's laid out, has been primarily single-family residents abutting street fronts, and it just seems like if you have an opportunity to allow this kind of development to happen with that type of building, to maybe put it back from the street front instead of having it right up against the street front, because there are other smaller dwellings as part of the plan, and we think that there's a missed opportunity here if we put the big apartment building right up against the side of the Hampton Road. The only other question, I guess I'll talk to the developer separately, but she mentioned that she doesn't want people who just want to downsize moving in here. I guess I'd like to understand the criteria for eligibility then, and how they're going to make those decisions about who they allow to come in and rent their facilities. But those are my points. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bellevaux. Once again, I'll ask anyone wishing to speak for or against. This lady had her hand up first, back here. Welcome. You do not have to state your address, but please state your name.
I'm Lindsay Madden, and I would like to state my address. I'm at 244 Hampton Road, so I'd be right in the little L part of where this development is going. I do have some concerns with the water as well. My well has already had issues. I actually emailed the town a few weeks ago just to kind of see when we were getting municipal, because I've had, like I said, I've had issues. I bought the house about 2.5 years ago, and so where I'm so close to the development. Another question I have, and again, I'm not sure if this is for you or the developer, is that when I did buy my house, I came here and proposed a small business. So I did open a salon in my house. I also run a real estate business out of there. So this is going to impact my business, me and my 2 children, our backyard, everything a lot. I know that the main road is said to be coming in right beside my driveway, so I'm not really sure how that works with like an R2 build right beside an R1 and all those kind of zoning issues and stuff like that. Again, I'm just not sure if I'm supposed to contact you guys or the developer, or just kind of where to go from here. I mean, I think this is a great opportunity for the community because we definitely need stuff like this. But I just, my concern is more personal, maybe a little selfish, but just, where I'm so close, kind of right in the middle of it, because it'll be my whole backyard and the whole side of my business. I'm just kind of, I guess have a lot of questions and concerns just kind of for my own personal business and, you know, livelihood, I guess, really. Again, it's a great opportunity for the town of Quispam. I just was kind of in shock.
Thank you very much. Are there any further concerns? Because the proponent will be able to address some of your questions. I think she's making notes there when people are speaking.
Yeah.
So thank you.
right.
We'll get back. We'll loop around to that. Gentleman in the black ski jacket, welcome. Please give your name for the clerk.
I'm Stephen Delaney. I live right across the street from this project in the old Stonycroft house. I have concerns about my wells as well as like everyone else. I'm down 150 feet. When I first bought that house 35 years ago, I could run my water all day long, water the lawn and stuff. Now it doesn't take long to drain the well. And I'm just concerned, and like I should be, that I would lose my water. And that's about it. I just want to thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Delaney. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for or against the proponent? And you first, please give your name for the clerk.
Bruce McDonald, I live in Peak Drive. I was concerned about the water as well, but now see everybody has raised the same issue. I was wondering. Sure, Bruce McDonald. Yeah. I guess the question was about the moving of the building as well. I'm wondering, like Mr. Bello, I was sort of thinking that was a more convenient location at the front, but that's because I live in the back. But that's fine. I think it's a great idea, the whole complex. It's just a matter of some clarity. If you change the position, does that have to come back, or are you approving just the zoning in general?
I believe it would have to come back if there's any kind of amendment to the developer's plan.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's it. Great. I think it's a great idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. Sir, please give your name for the clerk.
Graham Fraser. I'm going to add also to the water discussion. Some of us remember we moved here a long time ago, there was a free-flowing spring up on the Solis property that has since dried up. The wells are getting deeper, as we've already heard. And again, you know, I guess who's on the hook here? I guess if our wells run dry up, say, up in Pete Drive or down here. I mean, studies can be done. I know that the city of St. John did a big engineering study, and they decided to move all out of their water to wells. And hopefully you all know what happened there. The supply wasn't there, and they've had to go away from those wells and go back to the reservoirs again. So it better be a good study if it's going to be done, and I hope it is done, to just make sure that there is lots of water for everyone, and if not, I'd like to know who's going to be held responsible if my well goes dry.
Thank you very much for your comments. I'll ask again. I need to ask 3 times in a row before we have the proponent come back. Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment? Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment? Is there anyone else wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment? Seeing there are none, you may make a final summation, Ms. Lane, if there's anything you want to contribute to the questions or the concerns that have been brought up. You're welcome to come to the podium.
Well,
Ms. Lane, you can face me. It's okay, you don't have to look at the audience there. It's easier for you and easier for them.
I just feel so rude. Thank you all for coming tonight. I won't look at you. As far as the water issues, I do have a question. If and when the town gets the water going down Hampton Road, would that solve everybody's water problems? I don't know that answer.
I'll turn this over to our Director of Engineering, Mr. Loger.
Yes, Your Worship. As Council knows, we've got the Housing Accelerator Fund application in with the intent, partnered with DTI, to have water infrastructure installed on this stretch of the Hampton Road in 2026. Likely looking at this timing of construction and occupancy would probably sort of mirror up with what's happening here. The system would be designed tied to our own municipal infrastructure and source and storage, and it is designed to handle higher density capacities. So at its current proposal and what we've projected for the rest of the units on the Hampton Road, our system would be able to handle not just the Hampton Road growth, but we've also looked at side streets as well. So essentially the well, the reservoir that we have, the capacity essentially would handle everything from Millennium Drive, the Cedar Ridge area, almost like using Ritchie Lake as that boundary, the side hill. Once we go past Ritchie Lake, the other side, we're into a separate reservoir and probably a separate source. But as it's designed now, as projected now, we have the reservoir, the source, and the capacity to handle the Hampton Road, the development, and any other streets in this particular area that would require us to expand a water system to that area, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Loge.
And just one final question. When the water starts, when they start working on that project, bringing the water down, how long does it take, roughly? A year, 2 years, 5 years?
We normally, a stretch that would be a one construction season. So a tender would be released in May, and we would anticipate it would be done by the fall. It could be released a little earlier if we wished, depending on the schedule and the funding available. But the water supply for a project of that size, it's within one construction season. So that would be anywhere from a 3 months to a 5 month time frame when you get from start to finish.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you again, Mr. Loge.
So to summarize, we will be doing the environmental impact assessment, and if that's not required, the other one, I forget what it's called,
Hydrogeological.
hydrogeological. And if those are favorable, we will move forward. In 2025, we're looking at, by the time we get our building permits and everything, we might only be able to build one duplex or one triplex. And then 2026 would be 4 units. And then we would be hoping to rely on the town water. That's our Christmas wish list. And that would help solve everybody's concerns over water sooner rather than later. As far as placing the apartment building further back, we can certainly look at that. It was not hard and fast where to put it, but it has to go somewhere. So, but we can look at someplace where it doesn't impact anybody. And how are we going to prioritize clients? I certainly didn't mean to exclude people who are looking to downsize, but my intention in pouring my life savings and heart and soul into this project is to help people who can no longer stay at home and who need support and need wraparound services. So that's where my heart is and what I'm thinking of. But there are right now I don't have a priority list of who can move in and who can't.
Thank you
That would
very
be
much, Ms. Lane.
Thank you.
Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, you might as well come back up. I have a couple of questions for you.
I will just say, after the proponent's final summation, according to Section 111 of the Community Planning Act and Section 18 of the Quispamsis Procedural Bylaw number 33, we do have PAC's written views. They do not have to be read at this point. And then council members may ask questions. So I just wanted to clarify that one
Sure.
section that I didn't skip over that purposely. That is not
Nope.
necessary this evening.
One of my questions comes out of their written comments. So, because as I understand it from Ms. Jarvis, PAC's recommendation is to reduce parking stalls by 19. Is that correct?
Calculate, through you, Your Worship, to Councillor Bigger, a calculation was done as to the number of dwelling units that there were, times 1.5. We came up with the magic number of 74 parking stalls were required. I'm just going off the top of my head here. And in order to meet the bylaw, we'd actually need a variance approved for the parking, which resulted in 19 fewer parking stalls. So 19 parking stalls weren't removed. They were never provided for.
So does the rendition that I'm looking at here, this aerial view, is it accurate in terms of what would be created?
Yes.
To my recollection, it is accurate.
Okay, great, thank you. Right, and I just wanted to say thank you to all the residents for coming out. We really appreciate when we have the chance to hear from people directly, and we appreciate you taking time to be here. And obviously, the water is a concern. It's a concern water generally in our town is a concern around this horseshoe. We discuss it a lot, and the efforts that we're trying to make to expand municipal water service. And a project like this, in my estimation, is one of the key drivers of that effort, is to be able to accommodate the needs that, that Ms. Lane and her project are trying to meet. I guess it's an 8-year project. Yes, Ms. Lane?
Yeah.
And as you just outlined, in 25 and 26, you're going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of maybe 5 or 6 living units built.
6 units, 3 wells.
In that time. And as our Director of Engineering and Works has pointed out, with one construction season kind of needed to get the water, should we be able to get to that point, going, the municipal water system, and it on our schedule currently for 2026, that seems like it should all link up. Now, the best laid plans, I know, and all that. But I take some comfort as we move forward in this process, bearing all that in mind. And of course, that's all underpinned by the fact that we are, for the time being, pursuing the hydrogeological study
Yes.
as is required and the environmental impact. So I don't know if that brings comfort to folks, but I would just point that out. The last thing I want to ask you is if you could just, I take interest in the gentleman's question about how you determine who is the right, let's say, candidate or renter or, so on. And you use the phrase wraparound services. And I wondered if you could just expand on that a bit to help me better understand exactly what you mean by that.
So that's, it's what we do now in home care when somebody's living in their own home. We try to provide wraparound services. So we don't provide property maintenance, but we can connect seniors with property maintenance managers and people who can snowplow and things like that if they need those things done. But we provide support, transportation, helping people get errands, helping people get the groceries, whatever they really need to be able to stay at home is what we call wraparound services.
Mr. Colburn, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, Your Worship, just want to make a comment regarding the hydrogeological study as it relates to an EIA. So just sort of to give some guidance on how that operates. So the province sets, basically, if you have a development that draws more than 50 cubic meters of water out of the ground within a 24-hour period, it triggers an EIA. So the study that happens with an EIA is different than if it's just a typical subdivision. So they don't look at, okay, in year 1 we're building, 4 units. Year 2 we're building 6 units. They take the total project overall. They look at the land that's being developed. That's what they use to calculate the draw at full build out. The study that's done is basically the number of wells that are drilled can be between 2 and 3. 1 main well that you're pumping from, 2 observation wells. That pump is for 72 hours straight. So they look at what the drawdown is within that 72-hour period. They look at how long it takes for it to actually recharge. Typical subdivision development, you're looking at usually 2 wells and a 24-hour drawdown period. So in terms of these developments, the requirements in terms of water studies is a little more intense, if you will, and they don't look at it in terms of phases. They look at full build out, what is the total drawdown based on the number of units, specifically the number of bedrooms in this particular case. Staff has done some rough calculations. Ultimately, the decision lies with the Department of Environment. So this particular project is just over that 50 cubic meters. When I say just over, like just over. So that's why it's Department of Environment that will look at it. That's what will trigger whether it's an EIA or not. So just in terms of some additional information in terms of the question about the study and how it sort of works, it is a different level of study versus just your typical subdivision. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Colburn. Deputy Mayor Scryer.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure who I should direct the question to you, Ms. Lane, or to our engineering department, but I wanted to talk more about resident Lindsay Madden's concerns. And I don't know if there's a picture there that we can actually see the location of her home and where it fits in the whole scheme of this project. I'm having a little bit, if I'm going up the Hampton Road, is it before your project or after your project?
After.
It's after your project. So,
244, isn't that right? It's just east of, it's right beside it on the east side. Right across from the old store.
okay, so your driveways will be right beside each other, your entrance to your
Yes.
campus? Will driveways be beside each other?
Yes.
Yes? And is there any buffers that are planned to go between the two properties? I don't know how you do that with the driveway. Is there extra room for a buffer after the driveway? If a driveway's 10 feet wide, they're usually side by side, like is there room for buffer area to give Miss Madden her privacy? And what is it doing to her backyard as well? Those
Mr.
are my
Colburn,
questions.
please.
Through you, Your Worship. So based on the site plan, it appears that the driveway, one of the location of the street will be where one of the existing driveways is into the current property. So once that street's constructed, the zoning bylaw requires that any driveway to residential property is separated by 11 meters. The existing separation, based on our desktop measurement, it's in the range of about 10 meters. So the actual separation between the proposed street location and the existing driveway to 244 meets the requirements of the zoning bylaw with respect to separation.
It currently meets the requirement
Based on the site plan.
based on the site plan? Okay.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Mr. Colburn. Anything further, Deputy Mayor? Any other questions or comments from council? There is a motion. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Ms. Lane, for your presentation. This is really an exciting opportunity for Quispamsis and for the community as a whole because of the dedication and focus to the seniors that we're all going to be there sometime. I think looking at an 8-year project timeline seems a bit overwhelming also, because a lot can happen in 8 years, you know.
Yes, it can.
And what we're looking at here with the majority of the concerns having to do with water, and that water is going to be handled, you know, very, very early in this project, probably in the first year of any real major development in that area. By major development, I mean first building. So I think that the 8 years is a fairly lengthy time to address the needs.
I agree.
You know?
The reason why I chose the 8 years is so that I could, for the most part, do it myself.
Yeah.
Not build myself, but, you know, finance.
Yeah.
And if I do it quicker, I would have to bring on investors, and that will drive up the rents.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to keep it as within the norm as possible, without having extra put on to people, to seniors.
Well, you may find that the demand
Possibly,
Yeah. Might require that.
yeah. I could be back here next year saying,
Yeah.
we're doing them all in 2027.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that, but you know, but I think that it's exciting, and it's a
Yeah.
very interesting proposal that's dedicated with a lot of design considerations and restrictions on the use of the property and that, and so it's I think a lot of thought has gone into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. Councillor Bigger, please.
I was thinking I was going to second Councillor Olson's motion.
You may go ahead and read the motion.
I'll move first reading be given to zoning bylaw number 038-51, rezoning 236 Hampton Road, PIDs 00251843 and 302405527, from single or two-family residential R1 to integrated development ID to accommodate an aging-in-place community.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Deputy Mayor Scryer. On the question, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Ms. Lane. I forgot one of my questions I
Sure.
wanted to ask you is regarding affordability. Is there plans for applications to the provincial government for subsidies?
Yes, I would like to. I haven't done anything yet, but I'd like to have some of the units subsidized.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Olson, did you? No? Please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Make a motion for second reading. Would you like me to read it through again?
Yes, please.
Second reading, I move be given to zoning bylaw number 038-51, rezoning 236 Hampton Road, PID 00251843 and 302-40527, from single or two-family residential R1 to integrated development ID to accommodate an aging-in-place community.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question? Please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. That concludes our public hearing, I believe. And proposed zoning bylaw amendment number 038-52. Yeah, so thank you very much. That concludes the public hearing procedure under Section 111 of the Community Planning Act and Section 18 of the Quispamsis Procedural Bylaw 038. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening and for your contributions to the community. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Merry Christmas.
Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, 6B, proposed zoning bylaw amendment number 038-50. Thank you.
Sorry.
Because of the construction, we have to have somebody allow you to get in and out of the building, so. Thank you. On to section 6B, proposed zoning bylaw amendment number 038-50 to permit accessory dwelling units in detached garages. Staff report from Planning Technologies, Jennifer Jarvis. Ms. Jarvis.
Thank you, Your Worship, and through you to the council. Before you is the zoning bylaw text amendment. We've already kicked this one down the road once, if you will. However, when the legal counsel went to register it, they found that it would be best if it was to be brought back to council and a section be added to the bylaw to include detached garage dwelling units. I did heed council's questions from the first presentation. I did an assessment of properties, or not properties, I'm sorry, of communities within New Brunswick were similar size that also allowed the type of living arrangement with a detached garage dwelling unit. In most communities, they did refer to it as a garden suite. It fell under that category, or in some instances as an accessory dwelling unit. One thing that was common in these communities was a 1.2 meter side yard setback for these garden suites or accessory dwelling units, and a 2.5 meter rear yard setback. And that was true of Moncton, Riverview, St. Stephen, and Miramichi. And Miramichi, I might add, had a special caveat in theirs for garden suites where they were only permitted for persons with special needs. I spoke with the building inspection department in regards to our position of the 3-meter setback in regards to the other communities which were accepting the 1.2 meter. Building inspection, as Mr. Logier and Mr. Colburn both at the last meeting suggested, that the 3-meter separation is to do with fire safety. And as I said, it's also to sort of keep the living units with a little more space between them. So I spoke with the building inspection department about it. Their concern was regarding limiting distance, which is the distance between buildings, regardless of property lines, and the consequences that neighboring properties might experience if we allow that sort of setback. In that, if we allow it 1.2 meters from the side, or 1.5 meters from the side yard, and the other person would like to also build their building 1.5 meters from the side yard, we have a 3-meter limiting distance. And along that, those frontages that are facing that property line, there's to be no fenestration, no openings in the building, and that's fire safety. So if my neighbor decides to put up his garden suite 1.5 meters from the property line, and I want to do the same with mine, then suddenly I'm limited. I can't put the windows up. It causes a problem inconsequential. So with that in mind, and with the fire separation and it being related to life safety, the building department, inspection department has recommended that council continue consideration to the 3-meter setback. And one additional variance, one additional housekeeping item was added, and the definition of variance, more clarity was provided to include the development officer so that they can provide variance approvals through our variance application process. I've also provided statements of public interest that support the detached garage dwelling units and how they meet the province's requirements. And I'm open to any questions the committee or the council may have. Thank you.
Council, we're here this evening again for a public hearing. According to Section 111 of the Community Planning Act and Section 18 of the Quispamsis Procedural Bylaw number 033, we are here this evening as mayor and council and have been requested to and plan to consider amending zoning bylaw number 038. Today has been set aside, and this place of council here this evening. We note that anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment will be heard and considered by council. Each person wishing to approach the podium will identify themselves, have a 5-minute timeline to address council. So we've heard Ms. Jarvis with the presentation for the amendment. I will now ask that those wishing to speak for or against the proposal be given the opportunity to be heard. So if you're here to speak for or against, please come to the podium and give your name. Welcome back, Mr. Belleville. A double header tonight.
My name is Rob Belleville. I was here in July when you considered this bylaw rezoning or bylaw amendment request, and I spoke in favor of the amendment, and I'm here to say the same thing tonight. We are currently building a new retirement home, and we have a detached garage, which we plan to have a separate dwelling above the garage. And we already have our youngest son and his partner lobbying hard to move in there so that they can save some money to buy their own home in the not too distant future. So as you've heard many times before, there is a big need for this kind of development. And to be able to do this in a detached garage in Quispamsis, I think is the right move. It's already allowed to do it in an attached garage. So, I'm here to reinforce what I said earlier in July and to ask for council's vote in favor of this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bellevaux. Once again, according to the Planning Act and Procedural Bylaw, I must ask 3 times. If there's anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment, please come forward. Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment? Is there anyone wishing to speak for or against the proposed amendment? We have PAC's views there. They do not have to be read. If council has any questions, we can entertain those now. Councillor Donovan?
I was just gonna make the motion. Do I have to wait, or? I move that first reading be given to a text amendment to bylaw number 038, a bylaw of the municipality of Quispamsis respecting zoning as outlined in amendment number 038-50.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Deputy Mayor Schreier. On the question, there are none. Please
Yes,
vote. Oh,
yes.
I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, just on the question, I do understand the reasoning for the setback, but I still struggle with that for existing detached garages, that they're not being grandfathered at all. Somebody has a beautiful home with a detached garage that's sort of on the side of the house, and they could be on a corner lot, and they don't have the proper setback. It bothers me that we've sort of taken that whole group and said you can't apply to convert your detached garage. That being said, I understand the safety issues and what you're saying about, fire, but if you're 9 feet, that's 18 feet. Is there any way to, I don't know, change that to, so it's, if you only have 6 feet, can you go to PAC and ask for a variance, or is that a firm 9 feet, 10 inches?
Mr. Loge is approving what you're saying.
Mhm.
Mr. Loge or Mr.?
Your worship, yeah, and I'll let the officer speak.
Okay.
Through you, your worship, the existing structures, it's not about grandfathering them in. There's still an opportunity. They can apply. They just have to go to PAC. PAC would look at it on a case-by-case basis, and then from that, they could grant a variance and allow the development to happen, right? So there is still an avenue where those existing detached garages can be considered. And if you recall, when we discussed this at a previous meeting, it's just not the setbacks we have to consider. There's other life safety, structural issues that we have to look at, right? Is the garage built at a 2x3 or 2x4? Is it going to support the loads? But in terms of the setbacks, there is still that avenue. They go to PAC and look at a case-by-case basis, right? And they would look at opening, what it is limiting distances based on openings. So windows, doors, all those types of things, what are the setbacks, and they would look at that. Yeah, and so the other option is, if you can't meet it for whatever reason, instead of having combustible siding, you could go to non-combustible siding to address those issues. So there are mechanisms and ways to address it.
Thank you.
Thank you. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Councillor Olson.
No, it's okay.
Are you going to do that next motion?
I'm trying to find it here. Where's the second? Yeah, I'll get it right there. I'd move second reading be given to a text amendment to bylaw number 038, a bylaw of the municipality of Quispamsis respecting zoning as outlined in amendment number 038-50.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you very much. Is your work done here this evening, Mr. Bellevaux? We'll have to have somebody escort you in a kind way. We have to let you out because of the construction going on. Thank you. Have a good evening. Merry Christmas. Item number 7. Minutes of the previous regular meeting. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. I'd move that those minutes of the December 3rd meeting be approved as prepared.
Moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, there are none. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 7B, December 10th, 2024 special meeting. Councillor Olson.
I'd move the minutes be approved as prepared.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm okay with the minutes. I just would like my no vote recorded in 3.11 and 3.12 for the general operating and general capital. All of our other minutes say who voted for and against, and in this one it didn't. So I was just to have that on record.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That will be done. Thank you. Okay. Unfinished business number 8. On the question.
The minutes, thank you. So I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify, because as I went through this as well, I saw that section 3.22 has a motion defeated and a motion carried with no mention of who voted against. And I just wondered, does that represent that they were unanimous in both cases?
Both were. Yeah,
Both were unanimous, that's why there's no listing. I'm just trying to understand how it gets listed.
Madam Clerk, do you want to address that?
Yeah, I can. Through you, Your Worship. Normally, the 311 mentioned by Councillor Miller, that one didn't come up. It automatically is generated by eScribe. And for some reason, that one was wonky. Yeah, and otherwise it's not noted, so it's unanimous. So yeah, if you see that it's
Just carried.
right,
No
yeah,
listings.
correct.
That represents unanimity. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McGinnis. Councillor Luck, please, on the question.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to clarify. Unfortunately, half of it's not loading, so I can't actually speak to the page. But I just wanted to confirm that when you're updating it, you're updating it for everybody. In terms of the details, when it's not unanimous, you're going to be putting in the nay and the yay votes. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. On the question, it's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. Minutes be approved with some corrections by the clerk. Please vote. Motion. Motion carries 7-0. Unfinished business, there isn't any. Correspondence. Correspondence from Eldon and Dorothy Brigley, re Seniors Transportation. Deputy Mayor Scryer.
I move that the correspondence be received and filed.
It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Scryer, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question. Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just mention, appreciate the comments from Mr. and Mrs. Brigley. And of course, as we've talked about some here around the council table, we have some opportunity. We're working towards the possibility of some pilot project for hopefully before the end of next year to begin to address some of what's being raised here. So we will certainly add this to the motivation we have to see that come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just wondering, in terms of correspondence back to the residents, there is actually a volunteer ride service that is being offered. I'm just wondering if we could provide them with that information, so that at least they have that. But there is something in the community that's a volunteer basis. Thank you.
So that will be included, Councillor Luck, in the reply to them. Thank you. On the question, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Sprier, seconded by Councillor Miller. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 9B, correspondence from Councillor Miller, WorkSafe New Brunswick performance rebates and 2025 rates. And I will go to Ms. Brandon. Would you like to address that?
Sure, Your Worship, through you to Council. So there was a staff report, kind of a walk-on staff report that was handed out at the beginning of the session, kind of related to this item. Further on down, you'll see in our projections, there's other motions, but this issue just kind of came up this week as we were already finalizing it. That's why we've done it separately. So we are getting, for the first time in history, a performance rebate from WorkSafe NB, and our amount is $216,934.83, which is almost equivalent to our annual premiums that we would pay to WorkSafe. So that is very good news. If you see in the staff report, because we've done our projections and we don't really have a need or a plan for what we're going to do with this money at this point in time, it's thereby recommended that we record the information, record this extra revenue, and transfer it to reserves, split between both the general fund and the utility fund, because we pay expenses on both sides, and then that for future council decision on how that money is then spent in the future. As far as the rate, when we built the budget and the change of the rate, there's always a timing difference. We use the best information we have at that point in time. But the rates are fairly close, and if there are any savings, they'll be just reflected in the 2025 year end. Thank you.
Thank you. And the motion, I think, Councillor Olson.
Yes, be it resolved that $192,573.05 be transferred from the general operating fund to the general capital reserve fund from the WorkSafe New Brunswick performance refund for future capital expenditures.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, Councillor Miller?
Yeah, no, I think this is perfect. I think we will probably get a little bit of good news now from the police and fire as well. So it's, we'll take any little extra bit. I was at an event where the president of NB WorkSafe was saying how many millions were being sent out, and I was just like, wow. So knowing police and fire pay a higher rate than per person, I think, than we do, we might see a nice little extra Christmas gift, as somebody said earlier today, for them too. So this is good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much. On the question, it's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Miller. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Councillor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $24,361.78 be transferred from the utility operating fund to the utility capital reserve fund for the WorkSafe New Brunswick performance refund for future capital expenditures.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, Councillor Luck, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just had a question in regards to something that Councillor Miller said. If our police and fire services are getting rebate checks, I'm guessing close to what we have or more, how will that be, like, will that end up just going into their surplus? Because it's not really budgeted? I'm just curious in terms of how that will be.
Thank you, Councillor Watt. Good question. Mr. Watson.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you, and thanks for the question. It does speak to the conversations that we've had with the boards of police, fire, and library with respect to the use of surplus funds. There is correspondence that is owed to them shortly. We're just finalizing language which will come before council before it actually goes forward. So I expect our meeting in January, we contemplate the final language that we're suggesting, and it would allow for unexpected surplus to come back to the towns, or at least be considered for same.
Thank you. On the question, it's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. No further discussion. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 9C, Councillor Miller's resignation from the Finance Committee. And we will receive and file that. Councillor Miller, typically that letter would go to the nominating committee. Thank you very much. Motion to receive and file, Councillor Miller.
Yeah, motion to receive and file.
Moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, please vote. Oh, we're having a little technical difficulty here, so if you'd like to break out in jingle bells, go ahead.
Can you do that verbally, please? Just, I'm having a little issue with my instructions.
So it's been moved by Councillor Miller to receive and file his letter of resignation, and seconded by Councillor Bigger, sorry.
Okay, thank you.
And vote yes.
Yeah.
Vote now, yeah. Is that coming up on your?
It's not.
Okay, so could I see a show of hands on this side for yay? Both. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you. And item 9D, correspondence from Councillor Miller, request for capital reserve fund summary and analysis. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I think this can be probably received and filed because all the details are now in the capital reserve letter A, 11A, B, C. So I think those are already there. All that information's already been given. The only thing that was new that we didn't know at the time was WorkSafe. So I think it's already there. So just receive and file because
Okay, moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Donovan. And on the question, Ms. Brandon.
Through your worship, just to add to just that, that's what I was going to say, is that all the reserve information comes to council. We don't do any sort of transactions until the year end. Anything presented in a budget is at a point in time based on the information that's there and available at that point in time. Things change through the budget process. Other projects come up, funding changes, we do try to track those, but the only time that we actually touch reserves is at the year end, and these are the numbers that go into our audited financial statements that our auditors review. So I just wanted that clarified. Thanks.
Thank you very much. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 10A, proposed sewerage utility bylaw amendment number 05-25, a bylaw respecting sewer utility. Councillor Olson, please.
Whereas a notice has been published on the Town of Quispamsis website pursuant to Section 15.3 and 15.4 of the Local Governance Act, and whereas sewage utility bylaw amendment number 005-25 received first and second reading at the December 10th, 2024 special meeting, now therefore be it resolved, Council give third and final reading to sewage utility bylaw amendment number 05-25 to increase the annual sewage utility rate by 3.96%, or $22 from $5.55 per equivalent user to $577 per equivalent user.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question? Seeing there are none, please vote. Councillor Miller? Motion carried 7-0. Item number 10B, proposed water utility bylaw amendment number 024-20, a bylaw respecting water utility. Councillor Bigger, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Whereas a notice has been published on the Town of Quispamsis website pursuant to Section 15.3 and 15.4 of the Local Governance Act, and whereas Water Utility Bylaw Amendment number 024-20 received first and second reading at the December 10th, 2024 special meeting, now therefore be it resolved, Council give third and final reading to Water Utility Bylaw Amendment number 024-20 to increase the water user fee fixed charge component by 4.10%, with the basic rate going from $268 to $279 annually, with larger meters also increasing by 4.10%. The water user fee consumption charge component up to 96 cubic meters per quarter to increase by 4.10% from $1.0946 to $1.1395 per cubic meter, and the second level usage charge to increase from $1.7335 to $1.8046 per cubic meter, or 4%.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Bigger, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. New business. Item 11A, 2024 projected general operating surplus and transfers to or from reserve funds. Councillor Olson.
Be it resolved that $215,000 be transferred from the general operating fund to the general operating reserve fund for 2024 operating project carry forwards.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. Just on the question, and thank you for all the details, Ms. Brandon. For the FRSC, the $401,000 that they didn't use, is there any chance that they're going to come back to ask for it? I guess that's because we don't have it in to be paid, but we thought we were going to pay it. So is that going to come back to us, or? Thank you.
Yeah, through your worship to Councillor Miller. So there is a 2-year timeline for them to complete that work and then request the funding. And so in order for us, because we just do the annual budget, in order for us to fund those expenses when we do get invoiced for them, we move it to reserve. So, and last year, because of it being brand new and we didn't have a lot of the information, we had actually set up an accrual for that, which isn't the proper, full proper accounting. The best is to move it to reserve. So that's what we're doing. We're correcting the 2023, reversing that accrual, and then adding it with the 2024 into the general capital reserve. We do not have room in our general operating reserve to do this. And then when we get invoiced, it will, then there will be a motion that'll come forward from me that will say, this expenditure has gone through, we've moved this money to reserve, now we need to fund it, and we'll pull it out of reserve at that time. So it'll have zero impact in the future years because we've already taxed for it and we've already planned for it. You're welcome.
Thank you. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson.
Be it resolved that $40,000 be transferred from the General Operating Reserve Fund to the General Operating Fund to fund the 2024 operating projects.
It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Bigger. On the question? There are none. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $742,551 be transferred from the General Operating Fund to the General Capital Reserve Fund as per the 2024 General Operating Budget.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Bigger. On the question? There are none. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $795,000 be transferred from the General Operating Fund to the General Capital Reserve Fund for 2024 capital project carry forwards.
It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Miller. On the question? There are none. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $401,697 be transferred from the General Operating Fund to the General Capital Reserve Fund for 2023 and 2024 FRSC unspent capital.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Bigger. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Donovan, please.
Be it resolved that $1,534,175 be transferred from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Capital Fund to fund 2024 capital expenditures as per the 2024 General Capital Budget.
Thank you. It's been moved by Counselor Donovan, seconded by Counselor Olson. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson.
Be it resolved that $511,797 be transferred from the General Capital Reserve Fund to the General Capital Fund to fund 2022 and 2023 capital carry forward projects completed in 2024.
It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Donovan. On the question? There are none. Please vote. Donovan. Motion carried 7-0. Item 9B, I believe is where we are. Oh, sorry. Sorry. 11B, projected utility operating surplus, transfers to reserve funds, staff report to be uploaded to eScribe Monday. Counselor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $101,849 be transferred from the Utility Operating Fund to the Utility Capital Reserve Fund as per the 2024 budget.
It's been moved by Counselor Olson, seconded by Counselor Bigger. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Counselor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $693,214 be transferred from the Utility Operating Fund to the Utility Capital Reserve Fund for carry forward 2024 capital projects.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Councillor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $38,829.86 be transferred from the Utility Capital Reserve Fund to the Utility Capital Fund for 2022 and 2023 carry forward project costs.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Councillor Olson, please.
Be it resolved that $146,094 be transferred from the Utility Operating Fund to the Utility Capital Reserve Fund for future capital projects.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 11C, Councillor Olson.
Be it resolved that $9,120 be transferred from the 2024 Utility Operating Fund to the Utility Capital Replacement Reserve Fund to pay for future costs of replacement of capital items for the town-owned lift pumps.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item 11D, Town Committee Appointments, Recommendations, and Nominating Committee. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you. I'd move that council accept the recommendations of the nominating committee as proposed.
It's been moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 12 is reports. No motion required there. Item number 13 is business arising from Committee of the Whole. We have 3 items here. Deputy Mayor Scryer.
Yes, Your Worship, I'd move that council to endorse the draft host community resolution as presented, subject to all limitations contained within the draft resolution, approval from the FRSC board as authorized signatory for the St. John region. Quispamsis shall not incur any increase of capital or operation contributions to the FRSC arising from the Canada Games. So this is council to endorse the draft host community resolution for the Canada Games.
Thank you. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Scryer, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, there are none. Please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Deputy Mayor Scryer, please.
Yes, Your Worship. I move that council to approve the signing of the 2029 Canada Summer Games MOU for venues as presented at the December 17th, 2024 Committee of the Whole meeting, together with correspondence formalizing our expectation for consideration of additional operating and capital funding.
Thank you. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Squire, seconded by Councillor Luck. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Councillor Olson, please.
I move that council authorizes and approve the Quispamsis Rossay Regional Fire Protection Agreement as presented for a term of 15 years commencing on January 1, 2025 and expiring on December 31st, 2039, and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the agreement.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0. Before we move to adjournment, we'd like, as a council, we'd like to wish all of our residents a very Merry Christmas and a very happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year. Thank you, everyone. I'm looking now for an adjournment. Moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Thompson's light is on. This is such a struggle, I know. So it's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, please vote. Motion carried 7-0.